right. Shabbat Shalom to anyone who is joining us on YouTube. We are now streaming on YouTube. Welcome to all of those who are live in the sanctuary. Those of you on Zoom are able to see some of the people that are in the sanctuary, but there are some who are not uh, on camera. A couple, only a couple. And welcome to everyone who is joining us on Zoom. It's so wonderful to see everyone. So let's begin by taking a moment of letting this week, whatever it brought to us, letting it go. Whatever the heaviness or the busyness of the week was, whatever the irritants were, let's make space inside ourselves for rest and for peace, for calm. If you have a prayer book, we are beginning on page 126 in the bracketed numbers. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, and no services. Oh, I didn't mute everybody. Let me just mute everybody. There we go. But I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. We turn to our candle lighting. The blessings are on page 120 and 121. And is there someone here who would like to light the candles and do the blessing? Gail, come on up. The candles are over here. Over here. It's okay. Watch your step. Would you like to read this first? Oh, but actually, you have to come back over here to the microphone for that.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Here, let me. Broken. Careful. We need new matches. And brittle.
Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chai
Thank you so much, Gail. There's a railing all the way over to the side if you prefer. We turn now to the Kiddush on page 123. And is there someone on Zoom, perhaps, who would like to read the Kiddush for us, who has a beverage,
Okay,
appropriate beverage handy?
okay.
Okay.
Robert.
Yes, go ahead, Robert.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, favor with us, sanctifies with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage. As a reminder of the work of creation, as first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. If you're able, I invite you to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'havo v'ratzon הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת Amen.
You may be seated. We continue on page 130 in the bracketed numbers, if you have the thin book that has two sets of numbers, with Lechu Neranana, the words from Psalm 95.
לכו נרננה, לי, 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 לאדוני, יא לי, לי, לה, לה, לי, נהריה, יא לי, 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 לצור ישענו, Ya lai lai la la lai. Let us sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. L'chu neranena, ya lai 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 lai, l'Adonai, ya lai lai la la lai, nahariha, ya lai 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 lai, l'tzor yishenu, ya lai lai la la lai.
We continue on page 128 with Shabbat Hamalka, the Shabbat Queen.
The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, you angels of peace.
The Chatzi Kaddish is on page 263 in the bracketed numbers.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala u'vizman kariv. Ve'emeru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olam me'almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'av v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithodar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimeru Amen.
If you're able, I invite you to rise for the Baruch Hu.
La 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed.
Page 265, I invite you to read with me in the English. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 266, we continue reading together. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world. In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching At each moment, we stand face to face with truth. In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder. In each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Aved.
You may be seated.
Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzvacha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinanatam levanecha, v'dibaretam bam, v'shivtecha v'vitecha, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וכשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 269, I invite you to read responsively with me. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
מי כמוך ביילים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ילילה ילילה לילה ילילה לילה ילילה 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 השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרינו לחיים. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. מקדשי שביעי שבת כולם ישמחו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ובשביעי רצית בו וקידשת שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
The tefillah begins on page 273. If you're able, I invite you to rise.
Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohi avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohi Avraham, Elohi Yitzchak, v'Elohi Yaakov, Elohi Sarah, Elohi Rivka, Elohi Rachel, v'Elohi Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עושה מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלקם חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות מחיי ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושי בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. Page 277. You set aside the seventh day for your name, the pinnacle of creation, and you blessed it above all other days, more sacred than all festival times. So it is written in your Torah, together. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God had completed the work that had been done, ceasing then on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, and ceased from all the creative work that God had chosen to do. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai, our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 279.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu B'yamecha Yisrael U'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel U'tehilei ratzon Tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El karov lechol kore'av penei el avadecha v'chanenu shefach ruchacha aleinu v'techezena elinu be'shuvecha leTzion ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני
have come now to our blessing of gratitude, Modim. And so I'd like to invite you to add in the chat anything that you're feeling grateful for today. And that's for the people who are on Zoom. For people who are here in the room and for people who are on Zoom, if you prefer to say out loud what you're feeling grateful for, we invite you to do that as well. So please feel free to put into the chat anything that you're feeling grateful for today if you're on Zoom. And meanwhile, who has something they'd like to add aloud that they're feeling grateful for today? Ron.
I'm grateful for this fantastic October weather because 67 years ago today was Hurricane Hazel with 113-mile-an-hour winds right here in New York.
Okay, so Ron is grateful for the beautiful October weather because some number of years ago today was Hurricane Hazel that had 113-mile-an-hour winds right here in New York. What? He remembers it. We did have Hurricane Ida a couple of weeks ago, but that wasn't as windy. Bob.
Grateful for good neighbors. I was having medication delivered by FedEx. It did not arrive. 2 hours later, an elderly neighbor walked up to my porch to deliver the misdelivered medication.
So Bob is grateful for good neighbors who, when your medication is misdelivered, will bring it to your house. Alan.
This weekend celebrates 35 years of
Oh, this weekend, Alan and Bonnie are together 35 years. Mazal tov, fantastic. Linda Kushner-Silverman is grateful that the doctor said she can go back to the pool and PT. Susan is grateful for continued good weather so that she can walk outdoors every day. She did 2 miles this morning, which is incredible. Charlotte is grateful for friendship and for good doctors. Unfortunately, Judith Weiss can't join us because her computer is down, so we miss Judith. Yvette is grateful for the New York Botanical Gardens and for old friends. Monica is grateful to be here, and she wishes me a happy birthday. Thank you, Monica. I am grateful for having completed my 51st year. That's how it works, right? You complete the age you are is the year you completed, right? So I'm starting my 52nd year, and, you know, that's not too auspicious, but hey, you know, half a century. I was born in the last century. In the 1900s. So Ted Eslin is grateful for a sound mind, which is definitely good. Emma is grateful for community. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Patricia is back with us for the first time in a while, and she is grateful to see everyone, and she's happy that I'm going to see another year. So I'm grateful for that too. Hopefully all of it. Robert Teixeira is grateful for applying for his Portuguese citizenship card last Wednesday, which is an amazing story that maybe you'll get to hear someday. And Linda Kushner-Silverman is also wishing me a happy birthday. I want to say also happy birthday to Ellen Rothstein, whose birthday is also today. Who else? Noni.
I'm grateful that this week I get to spend the week up in the Hudson Valley singing Mahler's Second Symphony with Leon Botstein conducting. And I'll not be here Friday night. And what I'm really grateful for is next Friday, little plug, my daughter Emily Donato will be singing for me. So join in. Very excited.
Yeah.
Special appearance.
Okay, so I'm grateful for all of the birthday wishes from everyone, and I'm really grateful for this community. Anyone on Zoom want to talk out loud? You unmute yourself and I'll see. No? Okay, anybody else here in the room?
Frima's one waving to talk out
Okay,
loud.
Freema, go ahead, and then Gail.
Um, I'm grateful that I got both my shots, flu and the booster. And the booster was no fun and bleeding. And that beautiful weather and just to celebrate everybody. And happy birthday, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you. Modim anachnu lach. Gail.
No. How sweet.
Aw. So Gail says she got a surprise phone call today from the EMT who came to her house in 2017 when she had a heart attack and who assisted her then. And he said he has been looking for her and wanted to see how she was doing. So they made arrangements. They are going to meet as soon as they can at his station on Staten Island. So it's wonderful to get unexpected phone calls and for people to reach out who were in your life a while back. Mary Lou.
I'm grateful to be here with all of you, and I'm grateful that we can all be together because of this technology. I'm also grateful for modern science and medicine and pharmaceuticals. I'm grateful for good friends and neighbors. They're really a big help. And I'm grateful that we're in for a little bit cooler weather eventually in a few more days. It's pretty warm out here now with Santa Ana winds blowing. So, and happy birthday to you, Rabbi Hoover, and to Ellen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just remind everyone that Mary Lou is in San Diego, so that's where the Santa Ana winds are. They are not here in Brooklyn, which is fine.
I'm not sure if Robert had something to.
Oh, Robert Tejera?
Yeah. He was waving his hands before.
Oh,
No?
Robert, do you want to say something? No?
No.
He's saying no. He put it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I also just want to say that I am logged on to Zoom twice, and I am really only looking at the chat on the Sanctuary Zoom. So if you want to send me a direct message, first of all, if you send it to Rabbi Heidi Hoover, everybody in the sanctuary can see it on the screen. But if you send it to Sanctuary, and I probably won't see it because I don't have the chat up most of the time, but if you send a direct message to Sanctuary, that is the chat that I'm looking at, and I will see it. Also, if you send it to everyone, I will see it there. Okay, so that was just a little housekeeping note, because this is all very complicated. But it's working, and so my final gratitude is that I think we have actually achieved a multi-access service that feels like it works for people who are here in person and for people on Zoom. I know there is some disappointment that people on Zoom can't see Noni and I perhaps as well as you would like. However, in order for me to be able to run the whole system by myself without somebody else switching cameras and stuff like that, this is how it kind of has to be at this time. So it's sort of a technology and personnel limitation, as in we're trying to minimize the personnel who have to be involved. So Mike set it up, and I run it. All right, so.
May I just say that it's far better now than it was.
Okay.
So thank you.
Great. So Modim anachnu lach, for all these things, O Sovereign, all of these things that we mentioned and all of the things that we are continuing to hold in our hearts, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Shalom Rav, page 282.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom hashalom. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha Tasim leolam. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
We come now to our quiet prayer. If you have a prayer book, there are words on pages 283 to 285. If you can see the screen, there are words on the screen. But of course, we can always use the words that are in our own hearts. We continue quietly.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, be acceptable to you. Lord, my rock and my redeemer, Lord, my rock and redeemer. Amen.
We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. Our Misha Berach can be found on page 371. I'd like to invite those on Zoom who have names to add for healing to put those into the chat now. And I will also give everyone a chance to add names aloud. We hold in our thoughts and in our hearts for healing this evening Jesse Sakharov, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Allison Plummer, Rabbi Dara Lerner, Susan Sisler, Alan Fremer, Valerie Pace, George Landberg, Susan Bilecki, Dana Haitkin Nelson, Arlene Rosenthal, Michael Luck, Randall Rose, Arthur Rose, Barbara Weiner, Joan Lifshitz, Amy Juskowitz Soonseller, Deanna Roth, Roz Bornstein, Ingrid Grosso, Audrey Cohen, Eddie DeAngelis, Ira Goldman, Vicki Lightnaker, Sarah Brooks Kamen, Nettie Trummer, Mia Gannon, Jeff Abel, Patricia Christensen, Monica Beyer, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Judith Weiss, Fran Arnowitz, Debbie Litchman, Beth Dugan, Arlene Scher, Hannah Paines, Karen Wilco, Jackson and Tara Kushner, Shelley Samet, David Gershon, Stanley Tenen, Linda Kushner Silverman, Ronnie Katlowitz, Jordan Smith, Peggy Harvey, Martha and Ed Vincent, Sandra Pastor, Claire Florence Kramer, Penny Fisher, Ellen Greenfield, Irv Golden, Joellen Fox, Brian Abelman, Deborah Kosman, Kelly Quagliati, Jerry Jaffe, Janet Schlesinger, Noah Nesson, Jane Jaffe, Karen Kowarski, Cynthia Simon, Karen Silverman, Foster, Sandra Lopez, Anita Jones, Ron Cricky, Laura Cricky, Susan and Tony Vi, Zizi Potsdam, Brenda McBasey, Brenda Katroser, Eve Heyman, Jean and Larry Green, Jody Siegel Stein, Saul Siegel, Sal Comiso, Lauren and Ian Silverman, Janet Schlesinger, Jerry Jaffe, Seth Schrager, Ruth Gordon, Stephen Doppelt, Lance Grant, Joycelyn Elbers, Sharon Barrow, Lily Hall, Elena Aram, Chanel Kamabach, Warren Feliz, Jimmy Jenkins, Joanna Marie, Teresa O'Sullivan, Abraham Kalesi, Jennifer Magoob, Silver Silva, those in St. Vincent, Jamaica, Barbados, Guyana, who are suffering, those in Israel and in India and in Afghanistan, whether from COVID-19 or from other concerns in those places. Deanna Roth. Those in the room who has names to add, please raise your hand or rise. Ruth? Alan?
Janice Issa, although she says she's much better.
Good.
Michael Davis, Joe Edelstein, who's in the hospital this week, a little bit of touch of pneumonia, but he's home.
Oh, good.
All members of the NYPD and all of our Americans who are still stranded in Afghanistan.
Freema? Unmute, Freema.
Sorry. Alan Rolnick, Mitchell Popowitz, Francine Popowitz, Karen Hope Tubble, who had surgery and whose mother, Lila Bloomfield, passed away on Wednesday. Kathy's brother, Gabby, Stephen Schneier, Richie Gordon, Lucy Palazzolo, Martin Bennett, Wassam El Hanafi, Reva and David Cohen, and Phyllis O'Neill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add names out loud? We also include all of those who are suffering from COVID-19 in our own country and around the world, and those who have been wounded in service to our country or Israel, and those who have been hurt in recent disasters, whether in conflicts in Afghanistan or elsewhere, other human-created disasters, or in natural disasters. Page 371.
Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Lemotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe berach imotenu, Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, is the third Torah portion in the Torah, the third one from the beginning. And in each of these three Torah portions, God starts fresh. In the first, Bereshit, God creates the world, of course. In the second, Noah, God destroys the world and starts over again with Noah and his family after the great flood. And at the beginning of this week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, God speaks to Avram, whose name will later become Abraham or Avraham, for the first time. So God is starting over again, not by destroying the world this time, but by zeroing in on just one family to focus on and turn into a people. Beno Jacob, a 20th century rabbinic commentator, connected God's call to Avram to the first day of creation. When God calls to Avram, Lech Lecha, God tells Avram to leave his land, his birthplace, and his father's house, basically everything he knows, to go to a land that God will show him. God promises that Avram's descendants will be a great nation, and God promises to bless him. The language of blessing dominates God's promise. God says, I will bless you, you shall be a blessing, I will bless those who bless you, through you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So that's 5 instances of some form of the word bless in just 2 verses of the Torah. Beno Jacob points out that these 5 instances of bless match 5 instances of the word for light being used in the account of the first day of creation. The abundance of blessing, he writes, corresponds to the abundance of light created on the first day of creation. From this, he interprets that a second world is being created with Avram, a world of blessing. So I'm interested in the moment when God tells Avram, you shall be a blessing. That sounds like a very nice thing to say to someone, but what does it mean exactly, and how does one go about being a blessing? So some of our rabbis in the Midrash took up this question. In Genesis Rabbah, which is one of the collections of Midrash that we have, and of course Midrash is stories and interpretation of the Torah, and in the case of Midrash or Genesis Rabbah, interpretations and stories filling in gaps in the book of Genesis, Rabbi Berechiah says, God said to Avram, "Before now, I had to bless my world. From now on, the blessings are entrusted to you. Bless whom it pleases you to bless." So this adds another element to the Beno Jacob interpretation. The new world of blessing that's been created by God's revelation to Avram is a world of blessing given to humankind by humankind. God gives Avram the power to bless others. And this is a remarkable privilege that Rabbi Berechiah saw God handing over to a human. It's one of our ways of being in partnership with God and doing God's work. The possibility that God is not the only one who can bless. We humans can too. In the Midrash, it will sometimes say davar acher, which means another interpretation. Davar acher. Another Midrash points out that the word for blessing, bracha, is very similar to the word brecha. In fact, the consonants are the same and only the vowels are different. So instead of reading v'yeh bracha, which means you shall be a blessing, this Midrash reads v'yeh brecha, which means you shall be a pond. Which maybe seems like a strange thing to say to someone, you shall be a pond. But the Midrash explains, just as a pond purifies the ritually impure because it can be like a mikvah, a place to do a ritual immersion for purification, so do you bring near to me those who are afar. So the ritual purity allows you to approach God. So if a person brings someone near to God through blessing, they are like a mikvah, like a pond. It's a stretch, I grant you. It's a stretch. The Midrash does that sometimes. They were very creative, the rabbis. But this Midrash is not so different from the first one after all. Avram can bless people, which before this only God has done, and Avram can bring people closer to God. And though these actions aren't the same, they are both Avram, a human, acting for the benefit of other humans. The author of this Midrash, the second one about brecha, perhaps knows of another Midrash on a phrase that comes in our Torah shortly after the call to Avram to lech lecha, to go forth. The text tells us that when they packed up to leave, Avram and Sarai took the souls they had made in Haran, where they lived. How do you make a soul? We know that they didn't have any children, so that might be the first way we would think of that they could make a soul. But the Midrash tells us that this means that they made converts and that those people went with them when they left. Inspiring others to convert and follow their God is indeed bringing those people closer to that God. As immersing in a pond brings people closer to God by removing ritual impurity so that the people can approach the sanctuary. So again, we see human agency working with God to help people do better. This isn't necessarily a call to go out and try to convert people to Judaism, but, I wouldn't tell you not to. There are other ways to bring people closer to God. For example, by modeling ethical behavior and treating others with fairness, compassion, and love, so that they may be inspired to turn around and do that with others. In doing so, they will come closer to whatever this thing is that we call God. Although not everyone will. And here that word God might mean the ideal, the just world where everyone has dignity and value. There's one more story that I'd like to bring. This one is from the Talmud and is quoted by Sforno, an Italian rabbinic commentator who lived in the 15th and 16th centuries. He said, It is the blessing of God that God rejoices in God's works. This point is made in the Talmudic story of the dialogue between God and Rabbi Ishmael. The Almighty turned to Rabbi Ishmael and said, "Ishmael, my son, bless me." Rabbi Ishmael said to God, "May it be your will that your mercies be shown to your children." In the light of this, the meaning of be a blessing is as follows. Be a blessing to God by thinking deeply and striving to perfect yourself and teaching the people knowledge. So these are some ideas of what it means to be a blessing, to bless others as God has done, to bring other people closer to God, to think deeply, strive to perfect yourself, and teach people knowledge. In a sense, we are all always going forth toward a land that we don't know, because we never know what our future is going to bring. May we see ourselves as being on a journey that God or some force that gives our lives meaning has called us to be on. May we go forth in partnership with God in whatever way we understand that word God, and may each of us be a blessing. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
Lechi lo, to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi lo, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lo. Lechi lo, and I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi lo, to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lechi lo. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lo. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us, even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us, even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. We are loved, loved.
We turn now to the Aleinu. It begins on page 586. This is the one at the top of the page, right? Yes. This is the one at
short
the
one.
Yes, the short one. It begins at the top of page 586 in the bracketed numbers. I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months, or in past years at this time of the year. Those of you who are here in the room have the yahrzeit list in your bulletin. I've also displayed it to the screen with apologies for how small the text is. Those on Zoom, I invite you to put any names for anyone you're saying the mourner's Kaddish for this evening into the chat, and I'll give everyone a chance also to add names aloud. We remember those who have died in the past year. John Carfisi, who is Stan Hollander's brother-in-law and Terry Hollander's brother. Andy Glansman, Todd Zeitlin, John Previtt Jr., Augie Dorio, Janet Esposito, Kay Josephs, Arnold Block, Elizabeth Clark, Kyle McGee Sr., Ida Houston, Louisa Espute, Perry De La Touche, Ira Roth, Roberta Hayrath, George Liss, the Reverend Claude Park Street, Sylvia Tishkovich, Ellen Belofsky, Cindy Retagliata, Dolores Weinberger, Suzanne Leknos, Shirley Kafker, Lillian Frost Ridgely, Thomas Marinin, Meg Goldate, Marguerite Romeo, John Young, Isadora Frost, Fred Perlman, Bob Ira Kleinberg, Dorothea Schuring, Peter Brandenberger, Lloyd Ricketts, Ellie Heimlich, Sherry Burns, Terry Singer, Henry Kuhn, Lily Zimmett, Bob Perlman, Ira Berkowitz, Bayumi Mohammed, Amy Zisovic, Mary Holland, Dorothy Webster, Robert Allen Santos Sr., Robert Bonenfant, Barry Strumpf, Judy Epstein, Dorothy Mason, Judy Panzer, Barry Ween, Charlotte Brown, David Schachter, Douglas Maines, Devorah Lewis, Tria Sapir, Jane Evans, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs. Included on our yahrzeit list today are Tess Glansman, Pam Glansman's mother, Frida Levy, Linda Kushner Silverman's mother, Betty Menken, Judith Weiss's grandmother, Samuel Rubenstein, Linda Kushner Silverman's grandfather, and Albert Smith, Helene Smith's father. We also include Shuli Rokach, and Linda mentions her grandfather. Does anyone in the room have other names to add? Please rise or raise your hands. Ron? Okay. Thank you. All right. Oh, really? Oh, so she died in 1918? So Ron is calling our attention to, sorry, what was the full name? Rose Hirsch Levinson on our yard site list, who was the daughter of Hannah Hirsch, who founded Temple Beth Emet, and married the first rabbi, Samuel Levinson. The names are all escaping me today. But unfortunately died very shortly after they were married because in the 1918 pandemic. Thank you for that. Emma.
My mother, Jan Tuttleman, she passed away 9 years ago around this time, and her yard site is on Tuesday. Thank you.
And Freema?
Jack Mandel and Betty Rubel. Thank you.
Alan? Yes, I think it is. Jonathan Bass is, I believe, Robin Bass's brother. It's the right time of year. And Jerry Gilman. Thank you. Anyone else? I'm doing a quick scroll through the folks on Zoom. Okay. We also include all of those who have died from COVID-19 here in our country and around the world. We include those also who have died from other causes, whether in war or famine, terror or disaster, or alone and homeless on the streets of our cities. You can find the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. I invite you to rise and join in if you're able, or to participate according to your own custom. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayeh d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivorach Leolam Ulalmei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shmei Dekudisha Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran ba'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved wherever they may be. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom
Amen.
Yep, no more battery. Okay, we'll put a new one in there for tomorrow. But fortunately, I have another microphone. A few announcements before we conclude this evening. Tomorrow morning, there is religious school. Apparently, we will just be religious at 9:45 a.m. if you look at what it says in the bulletin. However, that's actually a religious school from 9:45 until 11:30 a.m. At 10 a.m., we will gather on Zoom for Biyachad. And at 11:45 a.m., we will have our multi-access Shabbat morning service for those who wish to come in person or on Zoom. Same rules as ever. This week at 1 o'clock p.m., there is afternoon Torah study on Tuesday, October 19th. That is Rabbi Pinsky who leads that. There's confirmation class at 6 p.m. on Wednesday the 20th. There is a board of trustees meeting at 7:15 p.m. on Wednesday, October 20th. That is on Zoom. And we have our holiday online craft fair. Handmade, one-of-a-kind gifts are shipped directly to you or your friend's door. The closing date is November 15th. I believe there was, in fact, I know there was an email, at least one email about this. What it is there's a couple of vendors on Etsy who we are partnered with, and I think we get some funds if we order some of their beautiful wares. There's also a flyer in the lobby for those who are at the temple now or might come to the temple. There's a tzedakah plate, which the money that's in there goes into my discretionary fund so that I can use it to help people in need. You can also donate, of course, via the website. Any other announcements that I have forgotten? Yes, Gail. There is gentle chair yoga on Monday on Zoom from 4 to 5 o'clock, led by our own Dr. Gail Levine-Freed, who says there is still room so you can sign up. The sign up happens on Eventbrite, does it not? It happens on Eventbrite. So you should be able to find it there. Plus, there have been emails about that as well. Anybody else? Anything? I'm looking around. Okay. All right. We are going to close tonight. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. We're going to close tonight with Ein Keloheinu. It's on page 626 in the prayer book. And I invite you, if you're able, to rise. And I'm trying to resize this appropriately. There we go.
Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, mi Keloheinu, mi Kadonenu, mi Kemalkeinu, mi Kemoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, nodel Adonenu, nodel Malkeinu, nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha. Shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.